Emotional eating. Let's talk for a minute about what it is and how we can impact this in a positive way if we have challenges with emotional eating. First of all, emotional eating is defined as overeating in response to negative emotions. And this causes some challenges because, first of all, we have obviously a risk of excess energy intake, but then we also have the impact of changing our mental health. So we can develop a disorder called binge eating disorder, and that causes even more challenges than just the emotional eating itself. This kind of starts with the idea that we have had forever, that food equals fun. And this is kind of imposed upon us by society. It may be in relation to parental opportunities that we've been given through our lives, where food is given as a reward, be it in school or at home or something else. You do something good and you get a treat. It's a very big part of social events. I don't know about you, but I don't go to very many parties that don't include food. So we have that positive social environment along with the food that brings that whole food equals fun. Sometimes we use food, and especially with kids, to make it better. You had a bad day, somebody was mean to you, well, let's go get a treat, and this will make things better. The biggest challenge is we tend to focus this on these pleasurable foods that we also call hyperpalatable. And that means that it's really easy to eat lots of these foods. And those types of foods are typically the ones that are full of lots of sugar and lots of fat, and we can just eat lots of them. Think about a donut, for example. It's really easy to just eat it and not really notice that you've eaten very many calories. You don't really feel full, you don't really feel satisfied, so you want another one. The next challenge that we have is we take our negative emotions and we try to apply that food equals fun to those negative situations where we're trying to treat our sadness, our anger, our anxiety, or our depression with food. And the hope is that these negative emotions will turn positive somehow because food equals fun. So we get into this spiral where we think food might solve the problem, so we eat, and then we feel worse after overeating. And so then we overeat more, and then we feel even worse, and we continue this downward spiral of weight gain and depression, and it's really hard to change those habits and change those emotions to stop that spiral. But it's important to try to stop that spiral so we don't continue on gaining weight and feeling worse and then developing other health challenges. In the research, there are some really strong connections, and these are probably going to seem really obvious, but we have a link between depression and emotional eating and obesity. Makes sense, right? We also have a link between shorter sleep and higher emotional eating, and of course that also increases weight gain as well when you have that connection. There is some evidence that there's a genetic influence that's also then linked to our diet and what we do with our food and our environment, and that those genetic influences might have an impact as well. So, what can help? First of all, eat more mindfully. What that means is really think about what you're eating rather than grabbing a bag of chips or a thing of ice cream or whatever it is that's going to be something that you think will make you feel better. Pick a food and really think about what you're eating, and instead of sitting in front of the television, focus on what that food is and how you feel and the flavors and the smells and all of those emotions and senses that you can get from that food, and just kind of think about those and that relationship rather than that mindless eating. Savor and consider the food, eat slowly. If we eat quickly, we don't notice when we're getting full. If we eat a little more slowly, it still takes some time. It's like 20 minutes after you're full before you really register that you're full. So give yourself an opportunity to feel that and to recognize those sensations and to stop when you need to stop. Keep a food diary. If you write down what you are feeling along with what you are eating, first of all, you have a record of what's been happening, so you can look back and see, oh, here's a challenge that I've been having. Every afternoon, I have this same challenge when I get home from work or school and I'm treating my emotions. You can also look back and see the progress that you've made as you're working through some of these challenges and give yourself a pick-me-up on those days that are a little bit more challenging, because you can look back and say, hey, a couple of days ago, I was doing really well. What was I doing, and how can I put myself back in that particular situation? And then the other thing is find substitute behaviors. Find something that you enjoy, that brings you peace, that brings you a chance to be able to focus on something that's a little bit more positive. And let that be your relaxation. Let that be your treatment or therapy rather than the food. Something that goes along with that is doing something for someone else. If we focus a little more outwardly, it always helps us to feel better. And so give yourself an opportunity to turn things around and find someone who might need your help as well. These things take time, and you might need some extra one-on-one professional help to be able to get through the challenges that come with emotional eating. So if you need that help, please find that help and get yourself in a position where you're in control of your food rather than letting the food control you.